You're sitting in a smoky nightclub in the late 1940s. The lights are low, glasses clink softly, a piano murmurs in the corner. People are talking over each other, laughing, ordering drinks. No one is expecting history tonight. Then a tall, relaxed man walks onto the stage. He doesn't rush. He doesn't try to impress anyone. In fact, he looks almost casual about the whole thing, like he just wandered in and decided to sing. That man is Dean Martin, and the moment you're about to experience is the moment Hollywood finally realized they were watching a superstar. But here's the surprising part. At that time, almost no one believed he would become one. So before we get to the exact moment Hollywood changed its mind, let's rewind for a second. Because the story doesn't start with fame, it starts with doubt. Dean Martin wasn't born with a microphone in his hand. He wasn't raised on stage lights or Hollywood glamour. He was born in Steubenville, Ohio, the son of Italian immigrants. His real name wasn't even Dean Martin, it was Dino Paul Crescetti. Growing up, Dino didn't look like someone destined to charm millions of people around the world. In fact, school didn't interest him at all. He dropped out early and took on whatever jobs he could find. He worked in a steel mill. He boxed under the name Kid Crochet. He even worked in illegal gambling rooms. Not exactly the resume of a future Hollywood legend, but somewhere along the way, Dino discovered something powerful. His voice. Not just a good voice, a voice that could melt through a crowded room. Smooth, warm, effortless. The kind of voice that didn't feel like it was trying to impress you. It simply invited you in. Eventually, Dino began singing in small clubs. Nothing glamorous. Tiny stages, noisy crowds, sometimes barely anyone listening. But every now and then, someone would stop mid-conversation. They'd look up. Who's that guy singing? Still, success didn't come quickly. Hollywood had seen singers before. Plenty of them, and many people in the entertainment industry believed Dean Martin was too relaxed, too laid back, too casual to ever become a real star. Then something happened that changed everything. He met another struggling entertainer named Jerry Lewis. Now imagine the contrast. Dean Martin was calm, cool, and smooth. Jerry Lewis was wild, explosive, unpredictable. It was like putting fire and ice on the same stage. At first, no one thought it would work, but the moment they performed together, something magical happened. Audiences didn't just laugh, they exploded with laughter. Jerry Lewis would bounce around the stage like a human cartoon, making faces, tripping over chairs, interrupting songs. And right in the middle of the chaos stood Dean Martin. Unbothered, relaxed, still singing perfectly. The contrast was hilarious. The audience couldn't get enough of it. Nightclubs started filling up, then theaters. Soon the duo was selling out shows across the country. Hollywood started paying attention. Producers began asking a question they hadn't asked before. Who is that singer standing next to Jerry Lewis? At first, many executives thought Jerry Lewis was the real star of the duo. After all, he was louder, bigger, more outrageous. But slowly something strange began happening. People started talking about Dean Martin. Women in the audience were swooning over his voice. Men wanted to dress like him, and musicians admired the effortless cool he carried on stage. He wasn't trying to steal the spotlight, but somehow it kept finding him. Then came Hollywood. In the early 1950s, the Martin and Lewis comedy team began appearing in films. Movie studios quickly realized they had something incredibly valuable. Their first films drew massive audiences. One after another, their movies became hits. The chemistry between Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis was electric. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. Hollywood was beginning to notice something unexpected. Dean Martin wasn't just the straight man in a comedy act. He had something bigger, something rare, charisma. The kind you can't teach, the kind that walks into a room before the person does. But still, many executives believed that if the duo ever split up, Dean Martin's career would collapse. They thought his success depended entirely on Jerry Lewis. Even some critics said it openly. If Martin and Lewis break up, Jerry will survive, Dean will disappear. Imagine hearing that about yourself. Now imagine proving them completely wrong. In 1956, the unthinkable happened. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis broke up. After 10 hugely successful years, the comedy partnership ended. And Hollywood waited. Some people predicted Dean Martin would fade away within months. But what happened next shocked everyone. Instead of disappearing, Dean Martin reinvented himself. He stepped away from the wild comedy chaos and leaned fully into the thing he did best. Singing, smooth, romantic, timeless singing. Soon he began releasing records that audiences loved. Songs like Memories Are Made of This started climbing the charts. Then came more hits. His voice became the soundtrack of late-night radios, romantic evenings, and smoky lounges. But the real turning point, the moment Hollywood truly realized Dean Martin was a superstar, came when he stepped into the world of film alone. No Jerry Lewis, no comedy partner, just him. In 1958, he starred alongside Frank Sinatra in the film Some Came Running. This wasn't a silly comedy, it was a serious drama. And suddenly, audiences saw a completely different side of Dean Martin. He wasn't just charming, he was a powerful actor. His performance was so strong that critics began praising him in ways they never had before. Hollywood executives started realizing something important. Dean Martin wasn't riding someone else's success, he was creating his own. Soon he joined the legendary Rat Pack, alongside Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. Together they ruled Las Vegas. Their shows weren't just concerts, they were events. The audience never knew what might happen. Frank Sinatra might start teasing Dean Martin, Dean might pretend to forget the lyrics, Sammy Davis Jr. might break into an incredible dance. It felt spontaneous, loose, alive. But behind that relaxed energy was a performer who knew exactly what he was doing. Dean Martin mastered something incredibly difficult. He made greatness look easy. Then came the song that sealed his legend. In 1964, he recorded Everybody Loves Somebody. When the song climbed the charts, something unbelievable happened. It knocked the Beatles out of the #1 spot. Think about that for a moment. In the middle of Beatlemania, Dean Martin took the top of the charts, even he joked about it. He once said he recorded the song just to knock those kids off, but behind the humor was proof of something bigger. Dean Martin had become timeless. He wasn't just a singer, he wasn't just an actor, he was a cultural icon. Soon he had his own television program, The Dean Martin Show, which became one of the most popular variety shows on television. Millions of people tuned in every week, not just to hear him sing, but to watch him be Dean. Relaxed, funny, smooth, like the coolest guy in the room who didn't even realize it. By now, Hollywood wasn't doubting him anymore. They weren't wondering if he would succeed. They already knew Dean Martin was a superstar. But here's the fascinating part of the story, the moment Hollywood realized it wasn't one single night. It wasn't one performance. It was something even more powerful. It was the moment people realized Dean Martin didn't need to try to be a star. He simply was one. And maybe that's why audiences loved him so much. He didn't chase fame. He didn't force attention. He just walked onto a stage, smiled, and sang like he was among friends. And somehow that effortless charm turned him into one of the most beloved entertainers in history. Even today, decades later, people still listen to his voice late at night, still watch his movies, still laugh at his relaxed sense of humor. Because Dean Martin didn't just perform, he created a feeling, a mood, a moment in time that never quite fades away. So now I want to ask you something. When you hear Dean Martin sing, what do you feel? Does his voice remind you of a certain memory, a place, or maybe even a person? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoy discovering incredible stories about legendary stars like Dean Martin, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next story. Because sometimes the greatest moments in Hollywood history aren't the loudest ones, they're the quiet moments.